Okay. Okay. Hey, everybody. Whew. Here's the deal. I have seen a little bit of confusion around what the dark feminine is, what it stands for, what it does, the impact it has, and how to live your life in that way. So, yeah, I've seen some confusion around this. I think the confusion is that because it's called dark, that it's considered, bad and negative, and that you shouldn't do it, and that it's your weak aspects about you, and it's all your weak points, and you're doing it because, something's wrong with you that you need to get worked out, and all this other kind of stuff. That is wounded feminine. That's different. The dark feminine is the core of the universe. If you go out into the universe, what color is it? What color is the background? Black. Why? Because it goes on forever. It goes on forever. The depth. Anything you look into that has depth, it's black down in there. A cauldron, a well, the ocean. Anywhere at night. The deep dark forest. All those places are dark if you look down in there. And your mouth, it just goes into nothingness. So when somebody talks about the dark feminine, that scares them because they think, oh, that's not good. That's spooky stuff, or that's stuff that's evil or whatever. The whole reason that you think that the dark feminine is evil is because of what you've been taught. It's what you've been taught. You've been taught that feminine power is something to be either feared or shunned, which is, kind of the same thing. Because when people are afraid of things, they shun it, right? Like, Europe burning witches. Oh, well, we can't have herbalists. We got to kill them. So if you pay attention to the details, you'll see how much you've been misled and how much you've been mistaught. And the only reason I'm so confident in the shit I say is because I've been through things, and I speak from my own experiences, and I speak from my own inner workings and things I've done with myself. So it's true that I don't have, 10 PhDs in psychology, but I've worked through enough in myself that I do sincerely believe I can work it out with somebody else as well, which is something I do all the time. I have clients that do this, the 12-week dark femme with me. I mean, it can be done. It can be learned, it can be taught, it can be absorbed, and the information can be shared and understood. But it's got to be explained to you in just the right way. Somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about is going to tell you, oh, you need to fear that part of yourself. You need to fear the dark feminine. No, not really, because the dark feminine is your core. If you go out into the universe and you see scary stuff like the black hole, or you go into the ocean, and the farther down you go, the deeper, darker it gets, the higher the pressure, the stranger the creatures, the more mystery, the more enigma, the more, unknown this and that. And people say, oh, well, we can't go down there. That's scary. I don't want to do that. You see the woods at night, but you don't want to go in there. Why? Oh, because it's scary. Why? Because you don't know what's in there. What's there to be afraid of? We don't know. It's mystery. But you're being afraid of something you don't know about. People think that that's just on the outside. Oh, why don't go in the woods at night because it's scary? Okay, fair enough. What about yourself? What if you see parts of yourself on the inside that are scary that you don't want to get into? This is like when you try to reason with somebody, and God bless us because we always try to do this. For people like us, always try to help people figure things out, and they're always in denial. Well, why don't you don't want to explore that part of yourself? You've never asked yourself about ... You've never wanted to explore that. You've never wanted to figure yourself out in that aspect. You've never wanted to sit and think about that and learn more about yourself or whatever, your inner child or whatever, just anything. No, I'm not interested in that. Oh no, I got shit to do. Okay, all right. So you're ignoring parts of yourself because you're too damn afraid to explore it. Because you're afraid. You're afraid to face yourself. The dark feminine and the dark masculine as well, but the dark feminine especially is about exploring yourself, understanding yourself, learning about yourself, seeing what's in there. What's in there? You may as well know. It's just you. There's nothing you need to run from. It's you. It's just parts of yourself you've been taught to ignore because that's scary, or you don't have time for that. Don't have time to learn about you? Since when? This is why you have situations, you have systems like the church and the government and people like that who have you look for your salvation and look for your freedom and look for your protection and look for everything else outside of you. Oh, you come to us, we'll handle it for you. Some outside establishment. Everything you need is right in here. It's right in here. It's not a joke. It's not. I wouldn't be telling you this shit if it didn't work. Like, there's a reason why I say the things I say. And for you to sit and want to do the self-exploration and discover that you are, in fact, what's at the core of the universe, which is the dark feminine, the creative force. People talk about the waters of chaos, and in my humble opinion, the waters of chaos are the amniotic fluids. In the beginning, there was darkness, and there was just the waters of chaos, and the spirit moved across the waters of chaos. Well, everybody was in some water of chaos in the beginning. What was that? The amniotic fluid. Everybody had to develop in a uterus and get pushed out or pulled out, one or the other. So if you're in there floating in the dark waters, that is your beginning. That's your very beginning. So there's no reason to be afraid of the dark waters of chaos. That's where all of our asses started out. Unless you were grown in a petri dish, I don't know. But even then, you'd still have to be in some moisture. But my point is, the misconceptions about the dark feminine and it being blended with wounded feminine are two totally different things. Because like I say, I saw a post the other day by this coach who I thought was really good until I read what I read. And then I changed my mind about her, but it's whatever. It doesn't matter. But she said, well, the dark feminine is when, you argue with men a lot and you're unsure of yourself and you argue with women and blah, blah. No. That's wounded feminine. And wounded masculine if you're arguing with men, by the way. And we'll get to that some other time because that's a whole other animal. But women arguing and being unsure of themselves is wounded feminine. I don't see how that could be anything else. But the darkness and the dark feminine is you diving into parts of yourself that need to be explored, and also once you figure those things out, you'll never be perfect with it because you're human and you're always going to be learning things about yourself, but you can figure out enough. But once you figure some things out and you master yourself a bit, you can start living the dark feminine, and living it is totally different because what you're doing is you enter a room or you meet somebody or you talk to people or what have you. When you interact with people, one of your jobs as dark feminine is to bring things to light that people are ignoring. This is why people like me encourage people to do self-exploration and stuff like that, because you are encouraging somebody to look at something that they are too afraid to look at. And people will get argumentative about this, they'll get their feelings hurt about it, they'll quit talking to you over it. It really doesn't matter because the truth is still the truth. They still have to look within. They still have to, as a human being and as a spiritual entity that is operating in the flesh on this earthly plane, at least for this time, they are going to have to look within one day and learn about themselves. And if reincarnation is real and we keep having to be reborn over and over and over again, they'll just have to come back and do it again because they refuse to look at themselves and figure themselves out. But the darkness, especially dark feminine, is here to say, look, such and such is wrong, and you need to really look at that because you're hurting yourself by keeping these patterns and mindsets and shit like that that's hurting you, and you need to change your ways so that you can do better and live better. And this is what you need to change. I've noticed you've been doing blah, 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 blah. That's hurting you. You're screwing yourself because you're doing this, and it's creating this kind of a lifestyle for you, when really things would be so much better for you if you would just look at what you're doing. That's dark feminine. That's one of the aspects of it. That's one of the examples of what it does. It brings shit to light that people are afraid to talk about. Patterns, mindsets, anything. You know what I mean? And like, especially for all of you who are struggling with generational trauma and generational abuse or what have you, and you've noticed it in your family, you've noticed it down the line, and you have a child now, or even if you don't, you're going to start with you anyway, right? But especially if you have a child, but even if you don't, you're going to sit down and say, man, I've noticed my mother, my grandmother, and blah, 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 all the way back, have just had these issues, and damn it, I'm not going to stand for it any longer, and I'm just not going to live that way, and I'm going to do better, and I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to figure out why this has been happening, and I'm not going to be part of that cycle anymore. Period. And now you are choosing to look at the issue, acknowledge it for what it is, which is an issue, a problem that has hurt people in your family, and you are consciously choosing to no longer participate in that shit show. Period. And especially if you have a child, you're going to make a promise to yourself every damn day that you're not going to pass that nonsense onto your kid. That's dark feminine. Because you're looking at something, you're saying, wait a minute, This isn't working anymore. We need to look at the truth. And those are the people in the family who try to talk to their elders and their family and say, well, you've always da 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 da. Why is that? Why have you always been so cruel? Why do you always say that? And the older person in the family will be like, oh, well, I didn't do anything wrong. And they'll just give you shit over it, and like y'all can't communicate because you're bumping heads. Forget it. Just forget it. Forget that person. Just forget it. Keep it superficial with them, because sometimes you have to, because some people just don't want to face it. Keep it superficial with them just for your own sake, for your own peace. And just let it be. And know, deep down, know in your core that you are not going to pass that shit on to the next person. Period. That's dark femme. Because what you did was you said something that needed to be said. Whether they listen or not doesn't matter. You still know what you said. You still know what you said was true, too. So the truth is out there. Doesn't matter. And the fact that you're stopping that cycle from carrying on is not only like the biggest thing in the family line that's happened so far, probably, in a long time, but also you're creating a whole new generation of people who aren't going to have that kind of shit in their upbringing. It's important. So it's things like that. Also with the dark feminine, you are there to show people parts of themselves that they're afraid of. And that means that you're going to have people who argue with you a lot because they don't want to face the stuff that you're bringing up and face the stuff about them. Like, and this will happen a lot with women too. Well, it can happen with men too, because men like to argue about whether or not they ever sin. But especially with women can be just as bad, and they're afraid of not being good enough and things like that. And so a lot of times, to make up for that, they'll compete with other women, which is ridiculous. But that's what they do. That's what a lot of them do. And when you try to talk to them about it, they'll say, oh, I haven't done anything wrong. You, blah, 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 blah. You bitch, blah, 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 blah. And it'll be and you'll hear some crazy story that doesn't make any sense and doesn't add up. And I can't tell you the times that has happened to me. I cannot tell you the times. It's not even a joke. I can't even laugh about it. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, I kind of can laugh about it, but still, it's stupid. How many, like, the times I've tried to talk to women who I was finding out hated my guts, and I didn't know why. And come to find out, they were in competition with me, and I didn't know what that was about either. And I really and truly have had to accept that I do things and say things that hurt people's feelings, because I say shit that's true, and I bring up things that need to be brought up, because that's my job on this planet, is to point out shit that needs to be said. Period. That's my job here. A lot of people are going to hate me for that until I die, and I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me. I'm still going to do my job because I know what it is. That's it. So, especially with women, when they start feeling bad about themselves and they realize that you're catching on to them feeling bad about themselves, they go absolutely haywire, because now their whole facade is coming apart. They'll hide it behind things like pretending that they know everything, or pretending that they know everybody, or pretending that they're close with famous people or close with people of rank, or their kid is the smartest kid you'll ever meet, or they pick the best man, they've got their husband's better than everybody else's, and it'll be little subtle things like that they'll try to throw into conversations and try to show off and stuff like that. But really, they're feeling so bad about themselves because they feel so damn inadequate they can't stand it, and they'll build their facade on things like that. Those are narcissistic tendencies, but it doesn't necessarily mean that women who do that are full-blown NPD. That's totally different. But you'll see a couple of little overlaps here and there. It's bound to happen sometimes, because it comes from fear. So you may see a little bit of that, especially if you've read about narcissistic personality disorder. But the dark feminine is there to purge and to cleanse, and to be a catalyst for change, and to bring clarity to things. You ever known somebody who goes to parties or gets in a group of people, and they'll be the one person who's just real straightforward about things? That's dark feminine. It's got to be said. And people are going to be like, oh, I can't believe some bitch just said that. But it doesn't matter. Because everybody else is going to hang their head and not say anything. So you can be part of that group if you want, or you can be like, yeah, you know what, you're right. And sometimes, I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes that's a lonely life. sometimes it's lonely. And women like that, especially women who operate that way, are only going to be able to make friends with women who are just damn like them. Women who just say it. Just say it. And women especially are taught, oh, no, don't do that, don't do that. So-and-so's not going to like that. Oh, men won't like you if you do that now. And this is 2023. It's getting to a point now where I don't think we give goddamn what men like, because we're tired of catering to them and cleaning up after them and getting nothing in return for the most part. I know it's not every last one of them. Mine's not like that, thank God. But it's taken me a long time and a lot of work on myself to get to a point where I could get somebody like that. So it is what it is. But, you know, sometimes I hate that phrase, but I just said it. But anyway, and the dark feminine, it takes a lot of work on yourself, because you have to, before you can get to that point, you have to work out a lot of your wounded feminine first. You have to work out a lot of your fears. You have to work out a lot of things a lot of programming that has held you down all this time. And one of those things is worrying about what people think. Women are taught, like, as part of, women are taught, like, that if you even want to live on this planet, you need to worry about what people think. Oh, I can't say that, I don't want so-and-so to hate me. I want her to know that we're friends. I want her to know I'm on her side. You know, we're friends. No, we're friends. And then this one, you see shit like, when a woman is in a room with a certain group of people and they say something about somebody who's not there, and she'll pipe up and be like, oh yeah, I noticed that too, so-and-so, you know, she's, you know, whatever, and it'll be something negative. Then that group disperses, and let's say the next day or the following week, that same woman is in a different group with a different group of people, and possibly the person who is being discussed is in that group. That person being discussed has found out about what was said. And so that woman's going to go to that girl that was being discussed and be like, oh yeah, you know, so-and-so said blah, blah, blah about you the other day, girl. And like, I kept my mouth shut, but like, I knew it wasn't right. And like, I'm totally here for you. And if you need to vent, you can call me, blah, blah, blah. It's that two-faced shit. That's the two-faced stuff. That's wounded feminine. That's the feminine being afraid of not being accepted because she's not good enough, or she's not going to have enough friends, or she's got to have enough people on her side so that if she needs something, she'll have all these people to access, and she'll live and she'll survive. It's time to put that to bed. It's time to put that shit to bed. That's wounded feminine. Just because your mom taught you that you're not going to have any support doesn't mean it's true. It's just how she feels about her life, and she projected that shit on you when you were 5 years old or 10 or whatever. And she screwed things up for you by teaching you that women aren't going to have your back. And so now you're pulling two-faced shit like that. I'm not talking to anybody in particular. I'm just saying you, like, in general, not you, but I just mean, you know what I'm saying. And that, I used to do that. I don't care. It's like, the reason I say shit is because I'm experienced with it. I used to be that way. Oh, well, you know, so-and-so was running her mouth at you the other day, girl, but, you know what I'm saying, like, I didn't say anything, but, you know, just know that, like, can't be serious. What a life. You have no real friends if you do that. You have no real friends, because nothing's legit. Nothing's legitimate. Nothing's real. The whole thing is a facade. That's no way to live, y'all. If you're going to have a real and true hardcore group of support and group of friends and group of people who love you and group of people who are not blood related to you, who have chosen you as family, if you want real and true bonds that last for your whole life, you've got to be real about shit. And that is the dark feminine. You've got to be real with yourself and with everybody else. And being real with everybody else means being honest about who you are and what you want and what you expect from people, and your boundaries, and knowing what they are, and not being afraid to express your damn boundaries and say what you think about life and what you think about this world. And the people who get that and vibe with that will come to you and be in your life. And people who don't like that and are too afraid of your truths and too afraid to hear the truth about anything else are going to be like, oh, I don't like this bitch. I'm getting out of here. You know what? Bye. Goodbye. You know what I'm saying? Like, let them go. Just because you lose one person does not mean you've lost your whole world. That goes for breakups, that goes for marriages, that goes for friends, that goes for relatives. You know, and people right now are really glorifying, and don't necessarily hold it against them, to be totally honest with you, but people right now are really glorifying cutting off blood family members who have pissed them off or won't accept them or what have you. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to do it. Sometimes you just got to do it. You've got to speak your truth and be like, you know what? I stand for this. And if somebody doesn't like it, then y'all don't have to be friends. You don't have to water yourself down or pretend that you're on the fence about something when really you're just saying that because you're afraid of losing people. Afraid of losing numbers. You know what I mean? Like, we can't live that way anymore. Women are taught to be what everybody wants, be what everybody needs, cater to everybody, adjust, when really you're not supposed to do that. Especially if you're going to live in dark feminine. Light feminine, yeah, is supposed to, please everybody. But in the dark femme, you don't do that. The dark femme takes courage. Because you're going to stand by your convictions no matter what. That's what that is. It's the darkness. And it's called dark because people are afraid of that. Oh, this woman's speaking her mind. Oh, she's laying down boundaries. Oh, well, we can't have that. Well, I suppose not. Because that would hurt you. Because you're trying to be in control of me. And we're not going to fucking have that. Because I'm not going to listen to anybody. Who was the last person I took orders from? Tell me. Tell me. No one knows. No one knows. I'll give you the answer. No one knows. I don't even know. Because I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to do that. That's not my job. Women aren't here to hang their head and say, okay. That's not why you're here. You've been taught that that's what you're supposed to be doing, but that's not necessarily the truth. That system is set up to benefit somebody else that's not you. So let's just keep that in mind. But especially with dark femme, aside from telling other people what you'll accept and what you'll stand and what you'll tolerate and what you won't, and your what you filter out and what you are expecting from other people, you have to do the same for yourself. You have to hold yourself to the same damn standard you're going to hold everybody else to. If you go around telling people, because here's another wounded feminine, you might see a woman who goes around telling people that they need to work on this or need to work on that. They've got such and such quality about them, and they should probably look at that because that's not good. And if you ever need any help, sweetheart, I can help you with that. I can do Reiki for you. You should really work on that because that's going to hurt you. And that same woman who says that to you and talks condescendingly to you is turning around and not only running her mouth about you, by the way, but she's turning around and talking to somebody that she looks up to and telling that woman or man everything about her that she's struggling with, that she's hurting from, that none of y'all will never ever hear about because she doesn't dare want to display any of her weaknesses or any of that shit because God forbid anyone knows she's human. So you have to keep shit like that in mind, especially when somebody talks to you condescendingly. But that's wounded feminine. That's another example of that. I'm going to fix you, and we're not going to talk about me, Nah, because women are taught to take care of everybody and well, we have to do that anyway, because they'll die if we don't. But we have to take care of everybody, and we're taught to make sure that everybody is on the up and up to par, and ship shape, bristle fashion, and all the rest of it. But we're not taught to take care of ourselves. So what that turns into, if it gets out of control, which it clearly has, what that turns into is, so I'm going to help you, and I'm going to make sure that you're, at your best, whatever that is, whatever that means, and whatever that demands of me. I'm going to make sure you're at your best, and I'm going to forget about myself. I'm not going to take care of myself. It also means I'm not going to keep myself in check, and I'm not going to look at things that I'm doing that might be hurting me or other people around me. And the dark feminine says, well, I'll do what I need to do for other people, if that's the case. Like, obviously I've got a son, so I'll take care of my son. His life is fine. I look after him. But I also have to look after myself, and that's not just salt baths and deep conditioning my hair on weekends, which I'm going to be doing today. But that's not just that. It's sitting down with myself and thinking about things I've done, or thinking about especially thought processes that I have that are no longer working for me. The dark feminine will step up and say, is this pattern really still cutting it for you right now? Is this pattern really still working for you right now? Because it sounds like it's not. And that can be anything. That can be a thought process, a mentality, an approach to life, a philosophy, or a mantra, or whatever you want to call it, where you have a certain viewpoint on something, and that viewpoint is holding you back. It's holding you back now. There may have been a point in your life, a window of time where it protected you. For example, when I finally broke up with my last narcissistic boyfriend, that was like 2017. 2017. I broke up with my last bad narcissistic boyfriend. He was bad. For about a year after that, maybe 2, but I'd say at least a year after that, I was in hypervigilant mode. And that was such a big part of my life. I put it on my website as part of my self story, because when I told about myself to explain why I got into this kind of work, and I was hypervigilant real bad. And I was forever looking over my shoulder. I was forever looking for a black Toyota Tundra. Every time I came to a red light and there was a black truck next to me, my heart would race. And I would think that could be him, it could be him. And I was so obsessed with protecting myself in any way that I possibly could. I always had a weapon on me. I was always looking around to see if I could see him anywhere. Wherever I went, it was real obsessive. I was messed up. And we had a lot of the similar interests, or so I thought, and so when I would go to events and stuff, I'd always be looking for him, and I would always be looking to see if he created fake profiles online, and I was always really double and triple and quadruple checking friends requests and stuff to see if it might be him posting to somebody else online or whatever, and I would always check to see who knew him or who was still in cahoots with him. And I had one friend who was still friends with him who took up for him one time after we had split, after she had witnessed me crying in the car one time because me and him were screaming. I was yelling because I couldn't take anymore. I was yelling. And we were fighting real bad. And she witnessed my tears, and she still took up for him later. And it pissed me off so bad I cut her off forever, and I never spoke to her again. Good job, Tony. Good job. And I quit talking to her because she made me so mad one time because she took up for him. And I said, after what you know about us. So, and she's got wounded everything. So, all of us have a little bit, but she to me, she was turning her back on me. And I just thought, nah. Because I take loyalty seriously. That's not a joke to me. And she hurt me by doing that. So I quit talking to her. And so I cut off people that I knew he was still in touch with. And so, I went to extremes in a lot of ways, though, to protect myself from this guy. And it was hard because he didn't live far from me at all. We lived in the same town, just a few streets away from each other. And it was real nerve-wracking, and I lost a lot of sleep over it, and I freaked out a lot, and I changed a lot of my ways and a lot of my habits. And I added safety and protective measures to my daily routine. And, of course, changed my phone number, all of it. And I deleted all my accounts online and started over and all kinds of shit. And I went overboard. And I did that because at that time, that routine protected me. And at that time, it worked. But that was 2017. This is 2023, so that was 6 years ago, right? So if I was still doing that, I don't even live in Virginia Beach now. I live in Alabama. So I'm 1,000 miles away, literally 1,000 miles away. And if let's say I was still doing that routine now, wouldn't make sense, would it? He's not going to fly down here and see what I'm doing. It wouldn't make any sense. So the dark feminine pops up in times like that and says, hey, is this mindset still working for you? Or, do you want to change it up a bit and give yourself a break and start doing something else? And the dark feminine says that because she wants you to be more empowered by not being afraid of things and not living in fear and not starting your day with, oh, well, shit, well, this might happen again, so I better make sure it doesn't. Let me do all these things on my checklist and make sure I'm still safe. And you're obsessing over it years after the fact when it's over. I'm not trying to downplay what happened. It's not that. But what I'm trying to say is the dark feminine says, there's a more empowering way to go about your life. There's a better way to live and to do this without being in fear all the time and torturing yourself with a mindset that's outdated for you and isn't working for you now. And this is hurting you now because it's stopping you from living. When really you should just be living your life. And if anything dumb happens, document it as best you can and take it to the police station and let them handle it. If that doesn't work, there's other ways to go about it, and we'll get to that some other time. But there's other ways. If the police don't help you, that does not mean you're stuck. It doesn't. But another story for another time. But my point is, the dark feminine is there to help you and to bring clarity and to get you to see things and to guide you into parts of yourself that you're afraid of, that you ought not to be afraid of. It's okay that you are. You've been taught that. But if you're 30 something years old like me, and you're still telling yourself stuff that's hurting you, or it just isn't helping you, or is holding you down, or is blocking you from exploring your own self, and we got to talk, because there's no reason for you to be afraid of yourself. That's just something you've been brainwashed with. It doesn't mean it's real. It doesn't mean it's true and that it's good for you. So I'm very passionate about this because I take it seriously, and I take self-exploration seriously. I've had to do a whole lot of it. Because I used to be crazy as hell. Matter of fact, after I broke up with that guy, which took me like 6 attempts, after I finally cut him loose, I had to go to the courthouse, get a no contact order for him, and then I was telling a friend of mine about a bad reaction I'd had in the grocery store one time when I thought I had seen that guy. It wasn't actually him, but he looked like him, and it freaked me out, and I had a bad reaction. And I told that story to somebody I knew, and the somebody I knew responds with, sounds like PTSD, and he's just kind of dumb, so that's how he said it. But when he said, sounds like PTSD, that stopped me in my tracks, because I thought, oh my God, no. I'm not that messed up. No, there's no way. I don't have PTSD, bro. Don't do that. Don't even say that. I don't. And then we finished our conversation, and then I sat and I thought about it, because I'd never been told that before. No one had ever said that to me before. And I sat down and I was like, all right, let me take the test. And I pulled up the government website for military people to answer a bunch of questions. And I had PTSD up my ass, like up the wazoo. I had it bad, and I didn't know that. I was in denial of that, because I was like, no, I can't be that bad off. There's nothing wrong with me, guys. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm good. And I took the test, and I was like, oh shit. And I thought, well, I had to decide in that moment. And I was like 30 years old, or 27 or whatever. And I was probably like 27, 28. I had to decide in that moment if I was going to have the courage to go ahead and explore that and try to get it sorted out, or if I was going to blow it off and say, no, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm going to fucking live my life, and then just go drink the feeling away. I had the option there. I was presented with the option to address it or ignore it, and that's about all you can do. There's no in between. And I decided to address it, because I chose courage, and I thought, nah, I got to look into this, because if I want to grow, if I want to get better, and if I want to recover from what this guy did to me, I have to act like it. I have to act like I want to get better, and I have to do the exploration, figure myself out, and fix myself so that I don't suffer from this in the coming decades. You know what I mean? It's got to be fixed. And there was one therapist I found, who I liked, and I went to her. Her name was Rosemary Thompson. She worked at the time, I don't know if she's still there now, but at the time she worked at Cova Therapy in Virginia Beach, and it's near Lynn Haven Mall back there on Lynn Haven Parkway, where the interstate is that takes you to the beach. And that's also the same building, office buildings where I got my LASIK surgery back there too. But anyway, so I went to Cova Therapy, and I talked to Rosemary Thompson. And she asked me a bunch of questions, and she said, Miranda, you've got some serious PTSD, and we need to work on that. And we did. And I made some improvements. So that was the first time that I had to accept that I really needed a lot of work, and that it was that, or continue on with a bullshit mindset, telling myself there wasn't anything wrong with me, and that he didn't damage me that bad, and I was going to be okay, and I'll just figure it out, and I'll just do my yoga and drink some wine, and I'll be all right. And that's bullshit. That's no solution. So I had to choose courage, which I did, and thank God. And I looked into it, and that was when, working on myself really, really started. So in a sick roundabout way, I guess, in a strange, twisted way, I'm kind of grateful. I'm kind of glad that guy screwed me up so bad and did the damage that he did, because if he hadn't done that, I would have never been prompted to look within like that, and do the self-exploration and do the work and go to therapy and see that woman and get all that started. I would have never done that had he not damn near ruined me. Like he did, But if that had never happened, I probably wouldn't have done that. So And I don't say that to say, well, you know, you need to be grateful for the people who ruined you because, you know, they taught you a lesson or whatever. It's not so much that. It's not so much that. I know people say that. All these gurus will say, oh, well, just take them as a lesson. You need to look within and see why they did that to you. There's more to it than that. So I don't want you to take that and think that that's my punchline of my story. It's not. But for me, if that guy hadn't done that, I wouldn't have been so desperate to. I wouldn't have been in such bad shape that to go look for help like that. Really, I suppose the real thanks I owe to is the stupid guy I told the story to about seeing the boyfriend in the store and thinking it was him and running out of there like a fucking maniac. Because that's what happened. I was telling that story to one particular dude, and when he said, "It sounds like you got PTSD," if he hadn't have said that, I probably would have never gone to therapy. And that was just some guy from Instagram. He wasn't even anybody important, you know, to put it plainly. But because he said that, I stopped and thought about it because no one else said that to me. And it was really, so to be honest, if I think about it, it's because of that, actually, that I turned around and went to therapy because he said that. Because I got scared and I thought, am I really in that kind of shape? Nah. But I was in bad shape. And I had to get my shit together because I already had my son. He was probably like 4 years old or something at the time. 3. Yeah, he's 3 or 4. So I was going to have to get it together one way or another. If not for me, at least for him. So the therapy and everything else that's happened since then was meant to be, because I'm not passing on any of this shit. All these fears and things like that, I'm not passing that on. So that's how that goes. That's how that works. So the dark feminine is there to help you get through things like that and to help you see that. And there is compassion and there is beauty in that. There really is. But you have to do it in order to see the good that's in it. So when you get women online especially who think they know what they're talking about the darkness, and the darkness is bad, and the darkness is where you act up, and the darkness is where you do things that are bad for you, and blah, 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 and that's where you argue with people, is because of the dark feminine. No, it's not. That's wounded feminine. That's wounded feminine. That's where you and your mom couldn't make something right, and you're paying for it. You're paying for your mom not being able to sit down and apologize to you for some shit she did in the 90s that has screwed you up. And because she can't apologize and get her act together and make it right with you as her child, whether you're grown or not, it doesn't matter. You're her kid. She needs to make it right with you because she's responsible for that, period. And since she can't do that, you're hurting for that. You're hurting from that. And you're paying the price for her being a dumbass and being selfish. And so now you've got all these issues with other women and with other men and with men who, and it's just repeating because nobody wants to make it right with you. Because your mom screwed up y'all's bond. The person who pushes you out is responsible for how you're going to handle the world. Yes. And I do hold women to a high standard because of that. I do have high expectations of us. We have a big job. Dare I say, the biggest damn job in existence. We rear babes. We make humans. We make humans. And we raise them up. And we have to do it right, because if we screw it up, we're going to see the consequences. Yes, we all make mistakes with that stuff. I know that. I'm aware of that. But if you're going to make a mistake with your child and they're suffering and they're 30-something years old and they're still suffering, and you're sitting there saying, well, I didn't do nothing to you. We all know that we've all done our best. Everyone knows that. We're all doing our best. Yes. Okay, get it. But if she is going to sit there and say, well, I didn't do nothing to you, you brought this on yourself, blah, blah. No, not really. The kid doesn't do that. The kid doesn't bring shit onto themselves. If she can't make y'all's relationship right, you know what? It's okay if you just do superficial shit with her until she dies. If you can't make it right with her and she won't listen, then just leave it. Then just leave it for what it is. Leave it. Because that's wounded feminine, and you don't have to pass that on. You really don't. Like, honestly, you don't. I mean, yes, I'm opinionated about this, but it's because I've seen this shit so much. I've seen the damage it does. And yes, I suffer from some of that damage myself. Another story for another time. But yeah, I'm not just pulling it out of thin air. Like, I'm saying what I've been through and what I've seen a million other women go through. And that's why women are so hard on each other, is that wounded feminine, because we're taught that being a woman isn't good enough. And we've been taught that for a long time now, and it's starting to kind of, get exhausting. And that's why there's so much confusion right now with identities and things like that, and people not knowing who they are and or rejecting themselves or what have you. They're taught that what they are isn't good enough. And with women in particular, we're taught, since we can't lift heavy stuff, that all the other shit we do is rendered null and void. It's not. Your core, the core of your body, is the place where life starts. The whole universe is right in there. The whole damn universe is right in there. That's the waters of chaos. That's the beginning of life. That's the beginning of life. The first thing a fetus ever hears besides your voice is your heartbeat. The rhythm of the universe. The rhythm. I don't see how lifting the front end of a car is more important than that. I don't see how being strong is more important than that. Chest muscles, great. Guess what? One day they'll wither. But my spiritual power in being the portal to the other fucking side, to the other world, is never going to go away. That doesn't go away. That doesn't wither. I'm that portal until I die. So I hate to sound like a feminazi, but I'm telling you, you need to start appreciating yourself for what you really are. And no, you don't have to actually have children to still be the portal. You're still the portal. If something goes wrong and you got to have your uterus removed, you're still the portal. You're still the portal. You are XX chromosome. That's female. You're the portal. You were built that way. You were designed that way. You're always going to be that window between worlds. You're always going to be that. That won't go away like chest strength will. That doesn't go away. That's spiritual. That is a spiritual power. It's there forever. And after you die, you'll still have it. Dare I say. I'm passionate about supporting women because I see the shit we go through and it makes me angry, and I want you to understand how special you really are. If you could just understand how good you are and how special you are and how important you are and how important your contribution is in this world, that nobody else's opinion would fucking matter. Nobody else's opinion would fucking matter. It doesn't matter anyway, but especially wouldn't matter after you finally accept your importance and your place in the cosmos, which is awfully damn huge. But it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of sorting out the wounded feminine. It takes a lot of sorting out of the confidence issues. It takes a lot of sorting out of all the shit you've been brainwashed with, because you have to squat and shit on all of that and say, I'm done with you. You're going down the toilet. Bye. Flush. Gone. Gone. And be done with it. And bury that shit and be done with it and move on to a new lifestyle where you wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I am the feminine divine in the flesh. I am important. My job is important. I matter. My life matters. And if I so wish, I can combine forces with a masculine divine who sees the job I do and sees how special I am and lets me see how special he is, and we can combine forces and be fucking unstoppable and have like the love of human history between us, like historical level shit. And y'all can do that. That's possible. But the dark feminine, it will help you, for lack of a better way to put it, speed things along, because as soon as you choose courage, because dark feminine is about courage, as soon as you choose the courage to say, okay, I'm going to explore this, just like your mom or your grandmother who is saying no to you about it when you try to confront them. I have that problem. As soon as you try to say, well, you remember that time that you said blah, 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 that really fucking hurt me, because I have tried to be good, and I've tried to blah, 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 and they just explode. That's wounds that you don't need to carry on anymore. And you know what? If you can't make it right with them, oh well. You got to cut your losses. Sometimes you just have to. But you had the courage to say it anyway, and to say it and to know it and to realize it and to accept it for what it is. And that does take courage. Acceptance takes courage. And it's a choice that you can make anytime you want. Anytime you want. If you so wish. If you wish for things to really and truly change and get better. Courage is the absolute foundation. I'll stand by that until I die. You can make the choice to say, you know what? I'm just done with this. I'm done with this cycle. I'm done with this. And it doesn't matter what it is. You can't make things right with your mom. You're doing drugs. You're not not taking care of yourself. You're neglecting somebody who loves you, you're neglecting yourself, whatever your issue is, you can choose to say, you know what, I'm just not going to continue this anymore. I got to have a better life, or else I'm just going to shrivel up and die. And it's that or live. Those are my options. What's it going to be? That's dark feminine. It's that courage to say, okay, you know, we're just going to do the damn thing and be done with it. Get the job done. Dark femme says that. Explore yourself. Get in there. See the inner workings. See the inner engineering. See all of it. All the little secret crevices. All the little stuff that's hiding away, that's holding you back. Things that are hurting you. Things that aren't helping you anymore. Things that are outdated for you. Explore your inner child. See where she is. See what her story is. See where she's feeling stuck. Because the inner child feeling stuck is why you have arguments with people. She's arguing. The inner child is the one who's arguing. Because well, there's a lot of things around that, but she's having an issue that needs to be looked at. Somebody suggested one time I do recorded meditations for y'all, guided meditations, and I'm starting to think that might be a good idea, because that's got, you know, especially for the inner child work, that's such a huge thing. I use that for my clients as well, and that is such a huge part, because she's in there stuck in a certain scenario that happened 30-something years ago or whatever, that has really hurt her, and she's still worrying about that and still stuck there because it never got resolved, because no one thought enough of her to resolve it and apologize. She never got an apology. I want you to think about a thing in your childhood that really fucking hurt you and really damaged you, and nobody apologized for it. No one tried to fix it or rectify it or make it better. Just think of one thing. That inner child in you is still suffering from that moment when it was never made right. She's still in there hurting because of that. And that's why you have arguments with people now, because you're having arguments with people who are reminding you of the shit that happened that day. You see what I mean? Dark feminine says, let's go in and look. Dark feminine is the void, the waters of chaos, the deep darkness, the mystery, the enigma, the wormhole in the universe, the black hole, the vacuum that gets sucked into the nothingness, the darkness. It just it enfolds, you know, around the child and says, look, just come into me. Just come into me. I'm going to absorb you in, and I'm going to absorb your pain, and I'm going to absorb everything about you, and I'm taking away, and we're just going to be one. I'm just going to take you into me. Just taking you in. And you just be part of me, and I'll be part of you. But you're going to expand in here, because this is the darkness. This is the eternal. This is the endlessness in here. The universe. I'm going to take you in. Take you into the dark, and you can just dive in. And you can go on forever if you want, because this is endless. There's no limits here. You know, you'll have no limits in finding new ways to love yourself, and new ways to have compassion for yourself, and new ways to forgive yourself for thinking a certain thing or doing a certain thing or what have you, you know, in self-defense or whatever, for example. But the darkness taking you into the fold like that, just like the amoeba reaching out and absorbing power, right, to transmute it, that we need that. All of us need that, to be absorbed by something greater that can just absolve that for you, you know, and teach you how to forgive yourself, and teach you how to make peace with yourself, and look at things that are hurting you, you know, whether you are doing it to yourself or somebody else is doing it, and to sort that out, and to show yourself some compassion. The dark feminine stands for these things, but it takes the courage to take the first step and dive in and say, you know what, I got to explore myself and fix this shit, because I'm going to be miserable if I don't. And how much longer do you want to be miserable? So that's what that means. That's what that means. So when you look into anything that is dark like that, a cauldron, down somebody's throat, the universe, the dark woods, a well, the ocean, the deep ocean down to the floor, a hole in the earth that goes down and you don't know where it goes, all those things like that, all those mysteries like that, just know that going into that diving in, you know, psychologically and spiritually like that, I don't know about physically, but, you know, the idea The idea is that if you dive in, anything's possible. Any exploration, you dive into your own darkness like that, you dive into your own well, your own dark forest, your own ocean floor, your own universe, your own black hole, all that stuff, your own waters of chaos. You dive in and the possibilities are endless. The self-exploration, the things you'll find, the discoveries. Yes, it takes courage. It takes one move, one maneuver of courage, one maneuver, and you're in. And once you dive in and see how beautiful you are on the inside, and see how special you are, and see your innocence, and see how golden you are, and see how beautiful you are, and how precious you are, and how eternal you are, and how priceless you are, and how divine you are, all this other shit's not going to matter. And out of that is born the courage to say what needs to be said. So just keep that in mind. And that's the Dark Feminine. So thank you for listening.